Good morning, everyone. Leslie Rogalski here from the Beadsmith for Spoiled Rotten Beads. I'm the creative director for the Beadsmith, and I've done this a few times if you've joined me in the past. I'm delighted to be here again from hot and humid Philadelphia on the east coast of the United States, about 100 miles south of New York City, for those of you that aren't familiar with the geography. I'm very excited today to present a project by one of my best friends and partner in crime at the Beadsmith, Leslie Pope. Yes, we're both Leslie. They call us Team Leslie or the Leslies. So today I want to show you her fabulous, let's see if I can get this window minimized here. We're going to go right to the good stuff. Here we go. We're going to do the diamond path. Think you can see that? Excellent. And there's Leslie Pope on the chat window. Hi, Les. This is what we're going to do today, the diamond path bracelet. It's a few repetitive steps. Advanced beginners, if you have experience with working with a needle and thread and two-hole beads, you're set. And beyond that, it's just very fun. And one of the really fun things about today's project is we're introducing you to a new finish on beads. This is called Ionic, and it makes me think of marble and columns and things like that. Let's see how close I can get. You can see all the little traceries of a kind of a nice coppery red color. This colorway happens to be green with brown, that's what they call it, in the ginkgos. So obviously that's one of the materials. Let's get started. I'm going to take my papers away. And put up my cheat sheets so I don't forget any steps, because you know when you've made something a few times and it's intuitive. All right, so I'm going to follow along the instructions that you will see. I've them taped up in front of me like cue cards. Let me just take a moment to say hello to some of the people who are tuning in here. I'm going to bring my chat window over where I can see it. Rachel, Anita, Lynn, hi, people from all over, Australia, South Africa. I know Juliet herself is in Greece. Leslie Pope is also in Philly with me. Hi, everyone, and hi, Jade, manning the controls at Spoiled Rotten. Thank you all for joining me. It's 8 o'clock in the morning here. I know it's a little later or earlier for all of you. So, we're going to make the bracelet. The materials that you need, I'm going to get my mug shot out of the way here. I'll bring that over down here. You don't need to see me for this. The materials we need start with a wonderful symbol element called the Patanasa. It's an ending for Ginko beads. Give my camera a chance to focus there. You can see the lovely, almost shell-like texture on it. Too much light. There you go. It's an ending. It has holes through it so you can attach it. Fits nicely right in with the ginkgos. Fits nicely with other beads too, but we're going to use the ginkgos with the ginkgos today. Okay, so we have the Patanasa endings. You're going to need two, one for each end. The Ionic ginkgos. GemDuos, I'm using bronze pale gold. Then we have 15s. I have a muscat here that kind of picks up the gold brown tracery in the Ionics. And 11s, I'm using matte black. So not very many beads or colors. I'm using 6-pound Fireline, and I'm actually using size 11 beading needles. So they fit through the 15s nice and smoothly, and of course the 11s and the other beads. And speaking of fitting through, when you're working with any two-hole beads, make sure that you check both holes before you sew any into your work. You want to make sure those holes are clear before you proceed, and just discard them if a hole is blocked. Sometimes there's mutants, it happens. The coatings fill in or something. Okay, I'm going to be working with a shorter length thread than you for purposes of the demo today. But you're going to start with a needle on each end of about 2.5 yards of fire line. You're going to put a stop bead in the middle of the thread to keep it in the middle. So let's see, get this out of the way. So here's my thread. To put a stop bead on, you string a bead and sew through it again. Makes like a little slip knot. Bring your needles together so whoops, I pulled a needle right off. So you want that to be in the middle of your thread. And since I pulled my needle off, it's going to give me a chance to show you my needle threading tip. Flatten the end of your thread with the little pliers, because your needle is a slot, so you want to make sure. There you go. Okay. Bring the thread down to your fingers so it's like a poppy seed, and bring the needle to the thread. Bring the eye of the needle to the thread, right through so the thread doesn't have anywhere else to go. There you go, and you're set. Just making sure I'm not getting any messages I don't see. Can you use any thread? Lorraine is asking. We prefer a thread with little to no stretch for this project. So Fireline, Wildfire, those are the good threads to use for this. Nymo has a lot of give to it. You do sew through this project a few times, back and forth through the same thread path. And one of the other good things about Fireline is it's very hard to pierce. If you're working with Nymo or a thread that's a softer fiber, you run the risk of piercing the thread when you sew back through it. So we suggest Fireline. And actually, when a project calls for a certain thread, there are always reasons why a designer has you do that. So there you go. You're welcome. So I have my stopper bead in the middle of the thread. We're going to work one side first. And we're going to start with a Patanasa Ending. And I'm going to sew through. So I'm going to work from my left to my right. So I have the little loop ending facing my left, and I'm going to sew through up to the stopper bead. I'll put this bracelet here so you can sort of follow along. Everybody can hear, see? Yes? All I need is one yes. Okay. There you go. All right, now Spoilt Rotten's saying any thread will work with this pattern. I told you my reasons for using a thread like Fireline or Wildfire, but there you go. If you have Nymo, just be careful that you don't pierce it when you go through. Okay, so we're going to pick up a Ginko. The Ginkos are referred to through the tip end or the wide end. Make sure, now I've pre-checked, but make sure all your holes are clear. You're going to go through the tip end. And it helps when you're working to keep your work oriented like the illustrations. So this is where I am. I have my stop bead and the Patanasa, and I'm going to string a Ginko, 15s and 11s, come down, string 15, GemDuo 15. I'm going to repeat this for the length of the bracelet. This is part one of one side of your bracelet. Now my simples are going to be very small. Again, for the demo. Okay. So we have the Patanasa. We have a Ginko through the tip end, and it snuggles up nice right there. We're going to pick up 2 15s, an 11, and 2 15s. So 2 15s and 11. Get on there. and 2 15s. And now we're going to sew back down through the wide end of the ginkgo so that it arches over the ginkgo. And your first piece, component piece, looks like this. It's not really a component, but your first step. Now we're going to pick up a 15, a GemDuo, and the GemDuos are going to sit like this. Again, pay attention to the diagrams because the GemDuos have a top side and a flat side. The top side has that little spine on it, so you want to make sure you're stringing these through properly. So I have my ginkgo with my beads. I have a 15. Now I'm going to string my GemDuo, and you want to make sure both holes are clear. One of the ways, I pre-check these, but one of the ways I do it as I work is I string through one hole and I just look through the other hole. If you can see the light of day through it, you're good to go. There's my GemDuo, another 15. And we're going to do what Leslie Pope calls rinse and repeat, where we're now going to repeat picking up a ginkgo through the tip end, stringing the seed beads over it, 2 15s, and 11 minor matte black, I love that, and 2 15s, back down through the wide end of the ginkgo, and repeat. Remember to pick up a 15, a GemDuo, and a 15. Those 15s you tend to forget. And you're going to do this for the length of your bracelet as you need it, minus whatever the clasp allowance is. Usually it's about 3/4 of an inch to an inch. And we're going to go all the way down the side. And when we're finished at that length, we're going to pick up the other needle and we're going to repeat on the other side. Let's take the stopper bead off. Whoops. Of course, I have to take my needle off to do that. So I'm going to take my stopper bead off the other thread. And we're just going to do the same thing, except we're not picking up new GemDuos. We're picking up 15s, but we're going to go through the other holes of the GemDuos. So I need to pick up a ginkgo for the other side through the tip end. And it's going to fit the other way now, like this. Right? Then we have the seed beads on the outside, 2 15s, and 11, and 2 15s. And we're going to go in the wide end of the ginkgo, coming up the other side. Now we already have our GemDuo existing here. Pick up a 15. Ooh, that one was broken. Sew through the open hole of the GemDuo. You can see why it's important to check both holes, because you would have had the whole side sewn with this faulty GemDuo. Pick up another 15 and repeat by stringing the ginkgo, the seed beads on the other side until you match the length, and you're going to end up with a piece like this. So I have my short little demo version for you. Yours is going to be long as you need it to be, right? Okay. Now we're going to add the Patanasa ending on the other side. My little demo has a gold one on there, so I'm going to do that. And we're going to crisscross through the Patanasa. which means I have my top thread, and I'm going to sew through the Patanasa ending, making sure that my piece is right side up with the loop facing out to the right. So this is coming from the top to the bottom, the way I have it oriented for you. And now I'm going to go through the other way with my other needle, crisscross. All right, now we're in position to start to add the embellishment on the sides. So with either needle, you've crisscrossed through the ending. You want to come up through the tip end of the first ginkgo, and you're going to sew through just the 15s. You're going to skip the 11s, and what this does is it makes the 11 pop up a little bit like a little picot tip. So you're going to sew through the first two 15s. Like that. Skip the 11, sew through the next two 15s. String a 15, an 11, and a 15, and sew through the next two 15s on top of the ginkgo. So you have this cute little arch going on. Skip the 11 on top of the ginkgo and repeat all the way down. And then you're going to crisscross through the ending. You're going to repeat with the other thread. Here we go. My little step outs. So when you do that, you're good. Before you crisscross through the ending, you're going to come down and you're going to see can see how the 11s on top of the ginkgos are popping up nicely as you put those back. Now we're going to reinforce this. This is the last step. So you've worked down and up, back and forth. Take each thread once you're through that last 11. Make sure you go through the ginkgo, then the patanasa. Oh, I think I already did this. You're going to go through the ginkgo and the patanasa and the ginkgo, and you're going to come out the other side. There you go. And before you sew through to come back and reinforce, once again, I've pulled my needle off. I have to tell you that it's a little warm here today. See how fast that needle threaded? So my fingers are sticking to my thread. You're going to sew in with the other thread through the ginkgo, wide hole. There you go. Through the patanasa ending and out the ginkgo on the other side. Come on. There we go. Now you're going to sew back through all these beads, but you're going to skip those 11s on top of the ginkgos again. So you're going to go through the two 15s. Skip that 11, but sew through the 11 that's in the little dip. So you're going to go through the two 15s that were on top of the ginkgos. There you go. Like this. And the 15, 11, and 15 in between the ginkgos. Like this. And you can sew through the other two 15s in the same swoop, just don't go through that picot 11. And you're going to continue all the way down with both threads. And then you're finished, and then you can tie off your threads by weaving them back into the piece until they're secure with pliers. Add your clasp to the patanasa. I have a nice big jump ring and a socket clasp, which is a nice clean profile. So that's the ball and socket clasp. That looks like this. There's your Diamond Path bracelet by Leslie A. Pope. Woohoo! How is this? Do we have any questions? I know that was a pretty fast demo, but it's a pretty easy bracelet. You just want to remember those tips. Check all your beads to make sure that they're clear. You want to use a thread that's not going to be able to be pierced. A size 11 needle or a 12 needle. I like 11, it's a little faster to thread. So I'm looking. Thank you, Lynn. I love this pattern from Leslie, and you can just imagine all the colors, you know, especially the Ionics. There's some really cool color combinations, very easy to match up with seed beads and GemDuos, which are bazillions of colors, really. And anybody, I'm glad you're enjoying watching it live. It definitely makes a difference, right? That's what we're here for as teachers, to show you guys how to do this. So let's see if there's any more questions before I let you go about your days. The tutorial is, of course, available through Spoiled Rotten. And you have all the supplies already, Anita? Excellent. I know that Juliet has stuff for you guys as well. Patanasa symbol endings, Ginkos, GemDuos, 15s, 11s, 2 needles, fire line, something to snip your thread or a thread zapper, and you're good. So, everybody be safe. We're not through this pandemic yet. Oh my God. And enjoy your summer. This is Leslie Rogalski, Creative Director from The Beadsmith, on behalf of Spoiled Rotten, signing off and saying, we love beads. See ya.